Thank you very much. I am the Land Tribunal President. I preside over land disputes. However, I am here as the Vice President of the Botswana chapter of the International Association Women Judges. I will be speaking to the question of the level of awareness on human trafficking and organized crime by the public and relevant professionals in Botswana. For the crime to be detected and identified, and also for its adequate and proper handling by the judicial system, both the public and the judicial officers, we believe, need to be adequately sensitized in this area. The Botswana chapter of the IAWJ is committed to ensuring that its members and all judicial officers are trained in this very sensitive and heartbreaking crime. The last of such training, which we did for judges and magistrates, was done in 2017, covering approximately 60 judicial officers countrywide. This training followed a case where a judge had sentenced a trafficker to 18 months imprisonment, which sentence was then wholly suspended. The judges realized the importance of the training, and we believe that we will not have a sentence as light as 18 months imprisonment and suspended after such training. Indeed, trafficking in Botswana, trafficking in persons in Botswana is deemed a serious problem, affecting public security, and the government of Botswana has over the years increased efforts to protect trafficking of victims. Prior to 2015, not much was known in the country about trafficking. The law is relatively new to Botswana and it is still at implementation stage. The government had to undertake an awareness program to teach and or sensitize the nation on human trafficking. In collaboration with NGOs such as the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the government conducted a widespread public awareness campaigns through meetings at remote villages where people live in poverty. Campaigns were also done through the radios, and TVs, and workshops with relevant government and non-government entities were also conducted. And as I have already stated, also training of all relevant stakeholders is also ongoing on a continual basis. Now, the Human Trafficking Prohibition Committee, chaired by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defense, Justice and Security, and under the general supervision of the Minister, is the one responsible for educating and making the public aware of this crime. The committee is established under the Anti-Human Trafficking Act, and its members are from all entities that in some way are involved or deal with issues of trafficking in persons. The committee's duties are to, the first one is to determine policies for giving effect to the objects and purpose of the UN protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, and the Act. To make recommendations to the Minister concerning the policy on prevention and suppression of trafficking in persons. The duties include also to lay down strategies and measures for the prevention and suppression of trafficking in persons, to monitor the implementation of international obligations, including cooperation and coordinating with foreign bodies in relation to the prevention and suppression of trafficking in persons. The committee also directs and supervises arrangements of study or research projects and the development of an integrated database system for the benefit of prevention and suppression of trafficking in persons. It also issues rules relating to the assistance to non-governmental organizations to carry out activities with a view to prevent and suppress the trafficking of persons. It also manages, in consultation with the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry for Finance, the receipt, payment, keeping, fundraising, and the management of the fund, and to perform any other acts as directed by the minister. Through this committee, the government has implemented informal and formal measures designed to encourage victims to assist in the investigations and the prosecution of traffickers. Through these awareness projects, Botswana registered more cases before court, both involving within the country and across border trafficking. Observations that have been made so far are that in the awareness campaign, a change has been seen in the mindset of Botswana, especially when it comes to traditional and cultural norms of having what in our country we refer as malata. This is where an individual is given to another family to live with them as their domestic worker, as an example, for no pay, nor with any labor laws observed. I think my colleagues before, who have spoken before has referred to something similar. It is still a challenge, and we have to conduct more educational meetings, especially at the rural areas. The awareness campaigns are ongoing as we speak, and we believe that protection and prevention is the best rather than having to act when victimization has already taken place. We also conduct awareness in churches. We have had instances where certain pastors of certain churches were involved in trafficking of girls out to China under the pretext that there were scholarships to study there. We have also started these rigorous campaigns at schools, both at the primary levels and at high schools, with the hope that if the children are aware of these from a young age, then they will be able to assist in the detection of the crime. Now, another area of awareness that is needed is in other professional areas. At page 5, paragraph 2 of the 2018 booklet for this summit, it is observed that there are activists who belong to the private sector who devote their lives to societal rehabilitation of these victims, including finding them a home. Now, for me, this statement highlights that lack of awareness of human trafficking as an organized crime means that whereas a certain vulnerable group of the society are specifically protected by the laws, not much has been done. Not much has been done about with regards to the victims of human trafficking. For example, the Botswana land policy specifically makes mention of protection of land rights of widows and orphans from dispossession of their rights to inherit land from their deceased spouses by in-laws and guardians respectively. This is quite commendable, and it has had an effect in terms of protecting women and children's rights. However, there seems to be a gap that remains in the protection of land rights in the case of victims of human trafficking. My colleagues have told me of a case where a trafficker was somehow able to even sell a victim's property, a victim's house, a piece of land, clearly without the victim's consent. Now, the question is, would it have been possible for the officials involved with facilitating these transactions of sale to realize that a crime of human trafficking was happening? Necessarily, of course, the next question is this: in rehabilitating victims, how are these land rights therefore going to be restored, or even whether restoration is even possible? These are some, but a few of the questions that we have asked ourselves. Now, as I conclude, we realize that there is a good deal of awareness campaigns and educational workshops and seminars that needs to be done with a wide range of sectors of the society. From the example that I have given, a more holistic approach needs to be done in all areas of the law to identify these problems that a victim faces and addresses them accordingly. Now, my colleagues will be able to go in depth in some of the issues that arise in terms of the Botswana case. Thank you very much.